I just can't imagine that somebody wouldn't want to try this at least, because honestly, they're not going to know how bad they actually feel until they feel this good. But it's really hard to describe it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carnivore Revolution. And today with me, I have my friend Barbara, who is from Carnivore Yogis on Instagram, and I am super excited to have you today.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here as well.
So I wanted to take a little while and talk about your story. I know you and I have a very, very similar story and a similar background. So let's start there. I bought my first diet pills when I was 12, and I know your story is very, very similar to that.
I just feel like we're so many women our age probably can relate to where we've been, with the whole kind of growing up in that era where everything was low fat and everybody, skinny was the thing, everybody wanted to be skinny and super thin. And yeah, so when I was 11 years old, I started exercising to this show. I don't know if you remember it, the 20-minute workout.
Yeah.
It was aerobics, and that was on TV. So I would do that all the time. And started, doing the eating not very much thing, very calorie restricting, which just kind of continued for the next 42 years. That whole, like that yo-yo dieting, just trying to be good most of your week or most of your day, and then just binge eating, because that's what I would do, was binge eat. And then when I binge ate, it was on things that weren't good. So it was just it's a very unhealthy lifestyle. And it's also like emotionally, like you've got this horrible food relationship for so many years, and with the calorie restricting and what I can have, what I can't have. And believe it or not, I'm not like that now. Even though I only eat certain things, I don't ever feel like I'm being deprived, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I remember that time as like the fat-free time. So like when I was in high school, which is just a few years after you were in high school, because we're just 4 years apart. You're 54, I'm 50. And so we both have, our whole lives lived like this. But I remember when I was in high school, and you probably have things like this too, I would not eat all day long. And it wasn't fasting. It was just trying not to eat. And I might have a bite here or there. I would have like a soft pretzel in our high school cafeteria, something little, but I would basically not eat all day long. And then my friends and I, on the way home from school, we would stop and get one of those Entenmann's fat-free cakes. Do you remember those?
Gosh, yeah.
I know.
All over the counters.
Yes, we would stop and get an Entenmann's fat-free cake, and I would eat the entire thing. You used to do stuff like that too, right?
Yeah. We're from like the St. Louis area. And I'm from this area, and the gooey butter cake is a real big St. Louis thing. So my mom would always get gooey butter cakes and have those on the counters. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. But yeah, there's just, until it was gone, it wasn't over.
Yeah, and I have friends that'll say to me, why don't you just because I've always watched what our kids ate. I mean, we didn't eat like I eat now by any means, but when my kids were little, and it was snack time in the car, I always had a can of green beans with no salt added with me. And I had a can opener, and I would open the can at a red light, and I would pour the water out, and then I would hand the can back to them. Like I always thought I was doing the right thing. I was always trying to be really healthy. But in any case, it's so hard now with knowing that those things weren't healthy. And even then, I was trying to be healthy. I thought the fat-free cake was better for me. And so I have a friend who has watched me go through all of this for the last, 22 years that I've been a mom. And she will say to me, if you would just keep those foods in the house, it wouldn't be so bad. The kids wouldn't want them all the time if you would just keep those things in the house. And so I went through a phase where I tried, and I made these pretty little jars, and I put them on the counter in the fall, like with the candlesticks under them to hold up the pretty ball jars, and everything was painted pretty. And I filled those jars with harvest colored M&Ms, like I thought, okay, I'm going to have this stuff in the house and I'm going to see how it goes. And I am not kidding. We went through like 3 bags of various different kinds of M&Ms within like a 2-day period. And I was so upset because I was like, I knew this wouldn't work. It was like every time somebody walked through the kitchen, they would grab one. So I think having those things around just makes things even harder for me.
Yeah. I mean, it did in the beginning because my husband's not really on board. So we still have a pantry full of a variety of chips. And the refrigerator has the Breyer's ice cream, all like 3 or 4 different flavors for sure. And I love ice cream, so that's a tough one. But like at this point, like there'd be no way I would go dig into that, because I don't really have the desire. Would I love it? Yeah, I still love it. I'm not going to say it's not food to me. I still love it, but I don't want to feel the way that I know I'll feel afterwards. I like if I go off rail, and I haven't in months, but my entire body, and I know people talk about this and you cannot believe it until it happens. It gets so inflamed. I mean, I will wake up in the middle of the night and get up and I will feel like an 80-year-old lady with my knee joints and my legs. I mean, I can hardly make it to the bathroom. It's just crazy. And then it'll hang with me, not 2 weeks. I get over it pretty quickly. But it would be several days that, I'd have the low back pain and the knee pain back, and just the general blah feeling that it takes to, I think, get those inflammatory things out of your body. So it's not happening anymore. I don't even want to go there,
So on Memorial Day, I made a keto cheesecake to take to the party we were going to. And so it was basically carnivore, but it did have some monk fruit sweetener in it. And I will tell you, the trigger for me was just insane. I think I ate an entire crustless cheesecake in about 48 hours. And so I decided that, on the 1st of June that I would start the Lion Diet, and it wasn't to punish myself for the first time ever. And I'm sure you used to do this. It's not to punish myself this time. It's like as a reward, like, cause I know the Lion Diet works best for me. And I felt so good doing the Lion Diet in January. I decided that I'm going to do that again. And people will say, oh, that's just another eating disorder. What's your opinion on that? I know you don't feel like that, but like, what do you say to people who say this is just another eating disorder for you?
I think you have to get back on track somehow. Like I made Kelly Hogan's oopsie cake, and within 2 days, 48 hours, the whole thing is gone, and I'm the only one eating on it. And there was no monk fruit sweetener, no sweetener at all. It was just having that, like that bread with a layer of the Cool Whip, but it was heavy cream. There was no sweet flavor at all to it, gone. So I know those are going to be things that I will treat and reward myself to. But yeah, I have to come back to, in fact, like the next 2 days, and I know people are against this also in the carnivore world, but I'm doing a sardine challenge, sardine/fast, which I know it's not a fast, but oh my goodness. So once in a while I'll measure my ketones and glucose, and it's just phenomenal, like how my body will respond to that for 48 hours. I mean, I could do a water fast, but I don't want to. So sardines is the way to go, and they're so healthy, and I will feel amazing by the end of the 2 days. And it's not like I'm going to go back and like make an oopsie cake and eat that the next 2 days. It just kind of gets me back on track with like your Lion Diet. It gets me back on track with how I want to feel within my body, and then it makes me make better choices. Like, do I really want to feel like I don't know, eating something because of an addiction? So once in a while I'll make that stuff and have it around, but usually I've got to do something. I've got to reel it in, and I still feel like we're doing better than most.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the real eating disorder is the binge eating we used to do. The real eating disorder is, even I dare call the sad diets an eating disorder, because most people are binge eating, right? Like, I like to make that clear, because so many people picture binge eating, the 300-pound guy shoveling French fries and stuff into his mouth, but that's not always what binge eating looks like. Like for me, the week I became a carnivore, was my birthday week. I was turning 48, so it was a little more than 2 years ago. And my girls have a gluten-free baking business. And so they said, do you want us to make you your favorite cupcakes? And I said, yes. And I said, double the batch, because that's where I was in my life. And they doubled the batch, and I ate 20 cupcakes in 36 hours.
Yeah.
And that was over the weekend. And I woke up on Monday morning and I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I got to figure this out. So binge eating can look like walking through the kitchen every hour for 12 hours during the day on a Sunday, on a normal Sunday afternoon, and picking up a cupcake every time you walk through the kitchen. That is binge eating. And binge eating is buying a bag of Doritos and eating the whole bag, which most people do. Nobody gets one handful and puts it on their plate. And I'm like you, I have never, ever been able to have just like one Oreo. Even as a vegan, I couldn't have one Oreo.
No, no. Yeah, my husband, we buy a lot of, oh, I don't, but the Girl Scout cookies. And if I open up the thin mints, the one whole row, like that's mine. My name's on it. It's gone. Not now, but
Yeah. And that's how I was. Like I would go grocery shopping at Sam's early in the morning and I would buy one of those bags of the chocolate drizzle popcorn. And I would eat a bag while I was shopping and like almost finish it on the way home. Whatever was left, I would hide when I
yeah,
got home. So nobody, I would bring a full bag into the house and then I would share it with everybody. I was sharing,
yeah.
but you know, I had eaten almost an entire bag on my way home, which is just ridiculous. So let's talk about your stint with veganism, because I was vegan for a while too.
It was about a year. And so what I did with that, it was like probably just a whole lot of carbs, a lot of pasta, a lot of rice, a lot of bread. I remember making like a sauce for the pasta with the cauliflower, rice it up. It's actually really good, you know, and it was delicious. But I mean, that was what I was eating all the time was rice cauliflower and vegetables, of course, lots of vegetables, lots of food prep and that stuff. All of that adds up, you know, vegetables and fruit. And if you want to buy organic, you're talking about expensive. That to me was an expensive time, you know, in my life for sure. And it was not very friendly family because now I can make meat. And then maybe if I need to make a side or something or two sides, then they're good with it, but they're always good with the meat. Before it was just not very family friendly at all. It was just too much of a stretch, too hard. Go on vacation. That was awful.
I had a lot of waste when I was vegan and vegetarian too. Like, you know, I would go to the store and I would buy all the stuff for all the recipes, you know, like you like to shop for a week or for 5 days at a time. And I would have all that stuff go bad. Plus,
Yeah.
on top of that, I was bloated and just didn't feel good most of the time. Did you feel like that?
Oh yeah. Bloated and no energy, probably because of, you know, not getting the proper nutrients that I needed. And then my hair started falling out. It was really not a good time for being so healthy, right?
Yeah, that's the part that's crazy is
Yeah.
you know, you're gassy and, you know, you just don't feel 100%, but you keep telling yourself that's coming because you're doing the right thing and you're doing, you know, the right thing for your body. And the eat the rainbow thing is, you know, I mean, I used to teach my kids 5 a day the colorway. I used to teach it, we homeschool, and I used to teach a PE class and I would teach them 5 a day the colorway. And I would bring in worksheets and send them home with these little kids to color at home, you know, with the fruits and vegetables on them to bring back the next week. And I was I was an avid juicer. Were you ever a juicer?
Yes. And that was so much talk about work. And so like you think you're doing such a healthy thing and you drink that and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm still starving. I was always hungry. I was really always hungry with this weight. I mean, because you think you can eat as much as you want. So I did eat as many vegetables as I want, but you're never satiated. You're just never, you always want more, you know, 2 hours later, an hour later it was never enough for me.
Yeah. Yeah, for me too. And I saw this morning, you know, the butter fueled guys, the
Yeah.
brothers, they
Yeah.
posted this morning, what are juice cleanses all about? Our body is made of protein and fat, not juice. It's like, that is so funny.
I did a juice fast. Yeah.
That is
It's
so
just,
funny because that's true.
yeah. So like at the end of those fasts, what do? You just go back to eating the same stuff. And then just like I was talking about the sardine fast. Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to get me back on track but maybe that's what they think with their juice fasting or
Yeah.
all I know is I
Yeah.
feel really great when I do a sardine fast. So I don't feel good when I do a juice fast or yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, absolutely. So what does a typical day of eating look like for you?
So I need to answer this one correctly because somebody said I didn't answer this correctly on Dr. Baker's show. So I was like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure I said ruminant meats, which I do love that the most. And I don't eat a whole lot of lamb. It was primarily beef and then steak and hamburgers, eggs, bacon. That's mostly my staple. I do eat a lot of butter and I'm trying to cut back on that. But I cook with butter and beef tallow. And then I have some dairy and I don't even hardly eat cheese, but it's mostly the heavy whipping cream, which I'm also trying to cut back on that. So beef, butter, bacon, eggs, some pork, some poultry, and dairy. So I answered that, I think, this time.
Awesome. So that sounds like a really well-rounded carnivore diet. Do you ever feel deprived? Do you ever crave things that you used to eat? And if so, how do you deal with that stuff?
I don't at all. If I do, I'm going to eat some more meat. or have an egg, I'm going to do something, but I'm not going to walk around hungry and know that that's going to sabotage me, and yeah. So like I said, I still got all the temptations here in our home.
Yeah,
And
we do too. We do too. No, nobody else in my family is carnivore. My husband mostly is. Sometimes he is. But the kids are not. We recently had one of our daughters move out, so now we have 3 left at home. Our son is 20. He's gone a lot, so he doesn't eat a lot of our meals. And our girls, they eat the meat that we make, and then they always have something else also, which is fine. And I don't get tempted by this stuff because I do look at it like that's not food to me anymore. I am a carnivore. I'm not on a carnivore diet. And it took me a while. So you're an abstainer like I am, right? For those that don't understand what that is, you want to explain the difference between an abstainer and a moderator?
yeah, I can't moderate. One bite's too many and 1,000 are never enough. So just like that whole Girl Scout cookie row, it's going to be all gone. I can't just have the one. I know some people can just have, a small little ice cream cone, but it's going to take me down a destructive path. So I do have to abstain, and I'm totally okay with that. Maybe someday I'll, have a sweet or something, but I just don't want to right now. I don't want to go down that path. But I think a lot more people will admit are abstainers or need to be abstainers. They're not moderators. And
Yeah.
because they're never going to be able, like my husband, he'll do the meat thing, but then when we're having a cookout and family's over, he has to have the bun, he has to have the chips. He needs to be an abstainer if he's going to cut it out eventually. I mean, cut it all out. And I don't. So I just worry about, the inflammation and the chronic disease that those things cause. So
Yeah, me too. So an abstainer can't have any. It's kind of like an alcoholic. Somebody who is an actual alcoholic can't have just one little drink, and somebody who's a moderator can have just a little bit. And so it took me a long time to learn the difference between the two. And it's like you wouldn't say to an alcoholic, "Oh, just have one drink," because you know that they can't. Somebody like us who's an abstainer, you wouldn't tell them to just have one cookie because we can't. It's just not. It's not in me. And I don't want to test it right now. I don't want to see if that's true. I'm a little bit nervous about that. I'm not saying I never will. Like if one of my grandkids, you just had a grandbaby. So if one of my grandkids brought me something, I've heard Karen Miles talk about this. If one of my grandchildren brought me a cookie they had just made, I'd kind of like to think I can have a bite and talk about how yummy it is and not go into the kitchen and eat all, 6 dozen cookies or something.
I agree. Like, I think we need to give ourselves a little grace, and like in those situations, it's just kind of like, if it's with adults, it's one thing, but if it's a child or somebody did something really special for you, it'd almost be like, well, I might just do it. We'll see.
Yeah. So for somebody who is 54, how do you feel about exercise? What do you do for exercise? And do you notice a difference in your energy when you're just eating meat and fat?
Yeah, totally. Notice a difference in my energy. I pretty much exercise every day, but once in a while I'll have a day off, but I'm a yoga instructor and I lift weights, not heavy duty, and just like twice a week. And I walk. I used to be an avid runner. I used to do the excessive cardio, the HIIT classes. I just beat myself up basically. And my knees have let me know about that lately. But I don't know. I just keep going with the carnivore thing, and it's like all my knee pain and everything has gone away. So I'm just kind of hanging in there. I'm sure it's going to flare back up, especially if I've lost cartilage. There's not going to be much I can do about that. But I just feel like I'm doing the best thing I can. I'm keeping it anti-inflammatory with the diet. I don't know what else I could do, for that end of it. But yes, I do exercise a lot still, but it's so much more, it's so much more moderate, and if I have a day I can't exercise, I don't beat myself up. I'm like, I know I'm going to eat right. So, and exercise is the worst way to lose weight anyway, or to keep the weight off, it just makes me feel good is why I do it.
That's awesome. So if you had one piece of advice for somebody who was considering the carnivore diet or having, chronic illnesses, or just needed to lose some weight, just wasn't feeling their best and just wanted to tighten things up, what piece of advice would you give to somebody new?
Somebody new just needs to start with cutting out the processed foods, the seed oils, the sugars, bread, pasta, rice. Just cut out all the inflammatory foods and eat the rainbow still if you want to, because I hate to tell people to go all meat because that sounds so restrictive. So just cutting out the processed foods and the sugars and the carbs, and seed oils isn't all that anyway. So you're going to be cutting that out. that's such a huge step that immediately, like within like 2 or 3 days, I think I started feeling better, digestive wise, for sure. Just sleeping better and digestive issues were the first two things that I noticed on my journey with carnivore. And I still had some vegetable in the beginning when I started carnivore. So I guess I was ketovore, but
Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think you just have to get started. I think that's the thing you have to do is you just have to, because people ask all the time, what do I do? What do I do? How do I do this diet? You just eat meat, have some
it's
cheese if you
easy.
want, have some eggs. I mean, it's the easiest thing in the whole world, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is.
Yeah, no menu planning, no, hard recipes unless you just want to. Sometimes recipes are fun, but none of that's necessary. So it's really awesome.
Yeah, I've got a couple of my daughters that have done that have gone, they're definitely more keto, but they didn't even know what that was until, they know that, like my daughter just had her photo shoot yesterday for engagement pictures. Yeah. Because they're getting married in 2024. And so I think it's been 4 weeks preceding this, her and both her fiance, both, they say they went carnivore, but they still, they eat some vegetables and stuff, but she knows she lost 15 pounds, like boom, just lost it. Yeah. We had a cookout the other night. There was no way she was putting a bun on that burger because she had photos the next day. And so they're getting it in their head. And then all of our animals are carnivore too. And they've cut all the kibble out for their dog. And our dog's coats are getting shiny, and they have, like, my dog is going to be 9 years old and she has all this energy. She's like a puppy again, running all over the place. And that's how I feel. I just feel like I was getting so lethargic, just complete middle of the day. I'm dying. Like, I do not have the energy to get through to the evenings. If I want to get any work done, it better be early on in the day. And I don't feel like that anymore. And I just can't imagine that somebody wouldn't want to try this, at least, because honestly, they're not going to know how bad they actually feel until they feel this good. But it's really hard to describe it.
It is. And that's my hardest thing too, is I'm not trying to be pushy. I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but if you've tried everything else, what's the big deal? Why wouldn't you just try? Like, don't you want to be really healthy and feel your best? Don't you want to feel like you're doing the right thing for your body? Or, I mean, like, why not you've tried everything else for 30 days. Like, all these people have also tried a bunch of other things. So why not just try this one? Maybe this is the last thing, maybe like you've tried everything else. Why not just try it?
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like it's like the ultimate elimination diet, even if you stay keto, but just cutting those carbs down. And then you can start to figure out what's causing inflammation or causing you to feel bad or causing you to have digestive issues, or, so even like the mental fog and the anxiety. I know we all talk about this in this carnivore realm, but it's really true. And some of these people, when they don't give it long enough, I coach some clients, and sometimes they'll do it for a week. And then they're like, well, I'm not seeing any, like, it took you decades to get here. Okay. I don't think 7 days is enough of a chance to give your body to start healing, because you're not going to, it's a health optimization way of eating. It is not a quick fix diet plan, right? So your body's going to do what it needs to do first. And if it needs to heal, hormones, if it needs to heal a ruined gut microbiome, it's going to go there first and take care of those issues before you start seeing the scale move. So it's tough to convey that to people that, and I'm like you, I don't like to say diet. I like to say my lifestyle or my way of eating, but whatever it is, I feel great. And I just want, so I have a lot of people that come to the studio and people that I know my age, and it's just like, they've just really given up, because it's really hard to feel good, to look good, to do the right thing. Like, they've reached an age where, like, they just think because they're aging that this is their fate, and this is it. There's just no more there's no more feeling good or looking good or bettering ourselves. It's just like, oh, I'm just getting old. This is how it's going to be. And I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy that. I see too many other people that look great in their 60s. I think I can, I'm hoping to do that too.
Yeah, me too. Like, I'm going for another 50 years here. I'm not okay with, being incapable of taking care of myself at 70. That's not okay with me. I want to be here for as long as I can with my kids and my grandkids. and also have longevity and feel good while I'm here. Like the quality of life is just so much better for me now than it was before. It's really just amazing.
Yeah. Speaking of not being able to take care of yourself when you're 70, my mom is 74. She's only 20 years older than me. And we just had to put her in a nursing home. So me and my brother, we're like the complete opposite of what our parents were. We're extremely healthy. She's smoked a pack of cigarettes for the last 53 years and now congestive heart failure, COPD. She's got lymphedema. She's a metabolic mess. And I tried to get her to go carnivore back in March. I went to her house. I cooked for 3 or 4 days. I stocked her freezer with stuff she could pull out, and she wouldn't stay with it. I know it's too hard when they're set in their ways, but I don't know. It's just like, there's no way. It's not going to be me. I can't.
In some ways, it's almost selfish to not just do it. Just give it 30 or 60 days and try it to see how you feel. Because if it is what we say it is, you are probably going to be here longer for your kids and have a better life, to spend with your kids. And so again, what's the big deal? It's certainly not going to hurt you to try it for a little while and just see how you feel. And then there are people who say, I've done low carb and I know I feel better.
Yeah. And when I did keto, it was all the eating the keto products and trying to count my, my net carbs. And I was eating all the sugar alcohols. I was still a sugar addict. I mean, really eating all of the, I would buy the Robert Irvine bars, those big, I mean, they're huge, bars with the nuts and the chocolate. And I was completely I don't know. I was not ever free of that addiction until now. And so the relationship with food gets better too. And that's the only way you can really succeed, is to change your relationship with your food. But I mean, I eat now, I still look forward to eating. I still love food, but I eat now like it's like you're eating to live, not living to eat anymore. My dad always used to say, you should, eat to live, not live to eat, And
yeah, that's absolutely true.
And food is so social, and, so I still have fun when we do a cookout. I just throw me a couple extra burgers on there. I'm not going to just eat one.
Yeah, I'm the same way. There better be a lot of extra meat if I'm coming, because that's all I'm going to eat. So, but nobody ever questions me or anything like that. I never have a problem. Nobody ever says anything. Did anybody give you like lots of pushback and stuff when you started?
Mostly just the family being concerned about like, well, you're eating all this red meat. And then when I started adding the fat, a little bit more fat. So fat's going to make you fat, and you're going to increase your cholesterol, and you're just going to have heart disease. You're going to die of a heart attack, So I heard all those things in the beginning. They're actually those starting to come on board. So I think I've convinced them enough. They're curious. So they ask me questions. I let them know. One of the reasons I became a coach is my youngest daughter, who just had the baby. She developed gestational diabetes. I guess they drink that, that drink. I think it's midway through. I'm not quite sure how far along she was. I don't know if it was 26 weeks or not, but she was positive for gestational diabetes. And that's like a really bad diagnosis for like how things could go in a delivery. It could be a cesarean section, all that. She completely reversed it completely. I mean, she would prick her finger, fasted an hour after eating everything, and they would stay in the 80s or sometimes 70s. I mean, so she's like a steak and eggs, bacon and eggs kind of girl now, and she's breastfeeding. And so everything worked out great. She was like, no way, Mom, tell me what to do. And I would never have known what to tell her to do if I hadn't been eating this way. I would never have known what to tell her to do to get her glucose down, So that's kind of my proud moment, that this baby is so healthy and that we were able to get this done. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you had the information you needed to help her with that at the time. Okay, that about wraps it up. Thank you so much, Barbara, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Serena.
And we'll see you next time here on the Carnivore Revolution.